The early morning light spilled gently over the vineyard, casting golden rays through rows of delicate lavender and white blooms. Everything was perfect. The linens, the flowers, even the distant sounds of the harpist practicing near the ceremony arch. And Savannah Mitchell? She was about to marry the love of her life. Thank you for joining. Feel free to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Inside the bridal suite, a swarm of makeup artists, stylists, and bridesmaids bustled around like worker bees. Laughter bubbled. Champagne glasses clinked. Savannah sat still, her eyes closed, lips curled into a soft smile as the makeup artist brushed highlighter across her cheekbones. I feel like I'm floating, she whispered. From across the room, Camille, Savannah's best friend and maid of honor, grinned. But her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. You should, Camille said. This is what you always wanted, right? Savannah opened her eyes and locked eyes with her. Exactly. And I couldn't have done it without you, Cam. Camille looked away. You'd be surprised. Savannah chuckled, brushing it off. Is that sarcasm, or a little too much champagne already? But Camille didn't answer. Instead, she picked up her phone and slipped out onto the balcony. Savannah's younger cousin, Isla, leaned in. Cam's been weird lately. You noticed? Savannah nodded, slowly. Yeah, she's been distant. But weddings are emotional for everyone, right? Isla looked like she wanted to say something else but thought better of it. Oh. The ceremony was set to begin at 4 p.m. By 3:57, Savannah stood hidden behind the floral archway, clutching her bouquet so tightly her knuckles turned white. The music began. The guests turned. And Camille walked down the aisle, stunning in a satin champagne dress that matched Savannah's color palette perfectly. She walked with poise, grace, and an edge. Something was off. As Savannah peeked out, her eyes followed Camille. She expected to see her best friend beaming with pride, excitement, love. Instead, Camille's face was unreadable. Cold. Her jaw was clenched. For a moment, their eyes met. And Savannah felt it, like a static shock to the chest. What was that? The bridal coordinator touched Savannah's shoulder. It's time. Savannah tried to shake it off as pre-wedding jitters. Butterflies. Nerves. The usual stuff. But with every step down the aisle, the weird feeling grew stronger. She glanced at Noah, her soon-to-be husband, who smiled back at her, warm, calm, steady. The kind of smile that made you feel like nothing else mattered. Then she looked at Camille, standing just behind him, and her heart dropped. Camille was staring straight at Noah. Not at Savannah. Not at the ceremony. At him. And not with joy. With resentment. Or was it longing? The story of Savannah and Camille started long before the vineyard, the dress, the groom. They met in second grade, bonding over a shared hatred for cafeteria spaghetti and a mutual obsession with Lisa Frank stickers. From that moment, they were inseparable. Sleepovers every weekend. Matching Halloween costumes for 5 straight years. First crushes. First heartbreaks. They applied to the same colleges, moved to the same city after graduation, even got tattoos together, a tiny crescent moon behind their left ears. One moon, 2 phases, Camille used to say. They called themselves sisters, closer than blood. Camille had been Savannah's rock through every storm. When Savannah's mom died in a car accident, Camille moved in for 2 weeks just to cook and hold her when she cried. When Camille's dad was diagnosed with cancer, Savannah helped raise funds for his treatment. But the friendship wasn't always perfect. There were small cracks. Jealousy. Secrets. Competition. Savannah had always been the pretty one, according to others. Camille was the smart one. People noticed Savannah first. But Camille always had the sharp tongue, the wit, the attitude. Together, they balanced each other. Until Noah came along. It was exactly 1 month before the wedding. A stormy Tuesday night. Savannah had just finished tasting cake samples with her wedding planner when her phone buzzed. 1:22 a.m. Incoming call, Camille. Groggy and in bed, she answered. Hello. Camille's voice was quiet. Slurred. Hey. You up? Barely. You okay? A pause. Then a sniffle. I need to tell you something. About Noah. Savannah sat up, heart skipping. What? What about him? Another pause. Longer. I shouldn't have said anything, Camille mumbled. Forget it. Cam. You're scaring me. What's going on? More silence. Then a shaky breath. I'm sorry. I love you, Sav. That's all. Good night. Click. Savannah stared at her phone for what felt like hours. The next day, Camille acted like nothing happened. And Savannah, not wanting to rock the boat, never brought it up again. But she never forgot it either. 2 weeks before the wedding, Noah and Savannah sat on the floor of their apartment, surrounded by ribbons, envelopes, and stacks of wedding invitations. Noah was folding RSVP cards, his brow furrowed in concentration. You okay? Savannah asked, handing him a pen. Yeah, he said. Then, after a beat, actually, no. Savannah froze. What's wrong? He exhaled. I wasn't sure I should marry you. Her heart sank. Excuse me? He reached for her hand. Wait. Let me explain. She pulled away. Noah. I had doubts, he said quickly. Before. A while ago. I thought maybe we were rushing into it. I wasn't sure I was ready. Savannah's mind spun. When was this? What changed? He looked her straight in the eye. You changed everything. You showed me what love looks like. I realized I didn't want to do life without you. There was sincerity in his voice. A softness that almost made her believe him. But there was something else too, a flicker of guilt behind his eyes. And suddenly, Camille's late-night call echoed back. I need to tell you something. About Noah. Savannah wanted to ask. Wanted to scream, even. But she just nodded. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Oh. The bridal suite was buzzing. Hairspray filled the air. Bridesmaids posed for TikToks. A photographer snapped detailed shots of Savannah's dress, her heels, the handwritten vows she had just sealed. Savannah sat alone near the vanity mirror, trying to steady her breath. That's when it happened. Camille burst through the door, half smiling, clutching her clutch. Emergency lipstick situation, she joked, rushing past. But as she passed, a small white envelope tumbled from her bag. It hit the floor without her noticing, landing halfway under the coffee table. No one else saw it. Except Savannah. Cam, she called. But Camille was already in the bathroom. Savannah bent down and picked up the envelope. It was unsealed. There was no name on the front. No label. She hesitated, then slid the flap open. Inside were 2 printed photos. Black and white, grainy, like they were taken from a security camera or a cheap phone. The first was unmistakable, Noah, standing outside a hotel room. The second? Noah, kissing someone. Her face was turned just out of frame. All Savannah could see was a long curl of dark hair, and a freckled shoulder exposed by a loose strap dress. Her hands started to shake. Just then, Camille returned. Savannah quickly slid the envelope under her thigh, trying to act normal. Camille raised an eyebrow. You okay? Savannah forced a smile. Yeah. Nerves. Camille nodded. Of course. It's your big day. But something in her tone made Savannah's skin crawl. As Camille turned back to the mirror, Savannah slipped the photos into her bouquet box and said nothing. For now, the bridal suite was buzzing. Hairspray filled the air. Bridesmaids posed for TikToks. A photographer snapped detailed shots of Savannah's dress, her heels, the handwritten vows she had just sealed. Savannah sat alone near the vanity mirror, trying to steady her breath. That's when it happened. Camille burst through the door, half smiling, clutching her clutch. Emergency lipstick situation, she joked, rushing past. But as she passed, a small white envelope tumbled from her bag. It hit the floor without her noticing, landing halfway under the coffee table. No one else saw it. Except Savannah. Cam, she called. But Camille was already in the bathroom. Savannah bent down and picked up the envelope. It was unsealed. There was no name on the front. No label. She hesitated, then slid the flap open. Inside were two printed photos. Black and white, grainy, like they were taken from a security camera or a cheap phone. The first was unmistakable, Noah, standing outside a hotel room. The second? Noah, kissing someone. Her face was turned just out of frame. All Savannah could see was a long curl of dark hair, and a freckled shoulder exposed by a loose strap dress. Her hands started to shake. Just then, Camille returned. Savannah quickly slid the envelope under her thigh, trying to act normal. Camille raised an eyebrow. "You okay?" Savannah forced a smile. "Yeah. Nerves." Camille nodded. "Of course. It's your big day." But something in her tone made Savannah's skin crawl. As Camille turned back to the mirror, Savannah slipped the photos into her bouquet box and said nothing. For now. Oh. The night before the wedding had been blurry. Champagne flowed. Speeches were made. Everyone laughed. But there was one thing that didn't sit right with Savannah. And Isla noticed it too. After the bouquet toss photos, Isla pulled Savannah aside, her voice low. "You sure everything's okay with Camille?" Savannah tensed. "Why?" "I probably shouldn't say this, but during the rehearsal weekend, I saw something." "What?" "I was coming back from the pool, like 3 a.m. Camille was leaving Noah's hotel room." Savannah's heart slammed against her ribs. "Noah's room?" Isla nodded, nervously. "She didn't see me. But I saw her. I thought maybe. I don't know. Maybe she was borrowing something. But the way she looked. How? Like she was sneaking out. Like she didn't want to get caught." Savannah felt her vision blur for a second. She held onto the wall. Noah had said he wasn't sure about the wedding until last week. Camille had called her 1 month ago, drunk, trying to confess something. And now this? Savannah's voice came out hollow. "Don't tell anyone else." "I won't. But Sav, something's not right." "I know." 2 hours before the ceremony, Savannah found Camille in the guest bathroom of the bridal suite, fixing her lipstick. She shut the door behind them. Camille looked up in the mirror. "Everything okay?" Savannah didn't smile. "I need to ask you something." Camille's hand froze mid-application. "Okay. I found an envelope in your bag earlier. It had photos. Of Noah." A pause. "I didn't mean to pry," Savannah added, "but they fell out. I didn't know what I was looking at. But I need to know the truth." Camille turned slowly. Her eyes were guarded. "Did you sleep with him?" The silence lasted 3 seconds. Then 5. Then Camille laughed, a tight, defensive laugh. "Wow. That's what this is. Don't lie to me. I didn't sleep with him." "But you were in his room." Camille looked away. "Yes." Savannah's voice cracked. "Why?" Camille hesitated. Then said, "Because I was trying to convince him to be honest with you." "Honest about what?" Camille's jaw clenched. "That he's not who you think he is. That he still talks to his ex. That he flirts with anything that moves. That he isn't ready for this." "Why didn't you tell me that earlier?" "I tried. That night I called you. You wouldn't let me talk. You hung up on me." "Because I realized it wasn't my place," Camille snapped. "You love him. And if I was wrong, I'd ruin everything." Savannah stared at her, breathing hard. Camille softened. "Sav, I'm on your side." "Then why were you acting like a stranger today?" Camille looked her dead in the eye. "Because I'm watching my best friend walk into a fire. And no one's stopping her." 4:45 p.m. The ceremony had ended. No one knew about the backstage drama. Guests were gathered in the reception hall now, sipping rosé and waiting for the speeches. A string quartet played in the background. Golden hour streamed through the windows. Savannah and Noah sat at their sweetheart table. Camille was next to the DJ booth, champagne in hand, waiting for her cue. The DJ signaled. She stepped up to the mic. But what neither she nor the DJ realized was that Camille's wireless mic, the one clipped to her dress for the videographer, had been accidentally turned on 15 minutes early. Everything she had just said backstage, to the wedding coordinator, to Isla, to a bridesmaid, had been fed through a private audio line straight to the videographer's headphones, and to the backup speakers behind the curtain. At first, no one noticed. But the DJ, adjusting levels, unmuted channel 4. And suddenly, Camille's voice came through the speakers. Honestly, this is going to be a disaster. Noah's trash. Savannah's too blind to see it. But whatever. She wanted a fairy tale. Let her choke on the crown. Gasps. Heads turned. The DJ's face turned pale as he scrambled to mute the line, but it was too late. Everyone had heard. And Camille was already stepping to the podium, oblivious. The room was dead silent. Camille smiled as she faced the crowd. If she knew what had just played, she didn't show it. "Good evening, everyone," she began. "For those of you who don't know me, I'm Camille. Savannah's Maid of Honor. But more than that, I've been her best friend for 18 years. Some guests smiled awkwardly. Others exchanged wide-eyed glances. I've seen her at her worst, Camille continued. Messy breakups, bad dye jobs, failed baking attempts. Polite chuckles. But I've also seen her at her best. And right now, standing beside Noah, she looks like someone who believes in love. Who believes in second chances. Even when maybe she shouldn't." Noah sat up straight. Savannah's mouth parted slightly. Camille smiled wider. "I know we're all supposed to come up here and tell a sweet story or two. But I think real love stories deserve real truth." A few guests murmured. "Sometimes, we choose people because we want them to be good," Camille said. "Because we see the potential. But weddings aren't about potential. They're about promises." The room froze. And if I've learned anything in these 18 years, it's that sometimes the people we trust most, the people we give our whole hearts to, aren't just lying to us. They're lying to themselves. Savannah stood up. "Camille," she said, voice firm. "That's enough." But Camille just looked at her and smiled sadly. "Congratulations, Savannah. I hope you find what you're really looking for." She handed the mic back to the DJ and walked straight out the side door. Camille was gone. She didn't wait for reactions, questions, or explanations. She stepped off the stage and disappeared through the side door like a ghost slipping into night. Back inside the hall, the air was thick with tension. You could cut it with a butter knife. Guests sat in stunned silence, unsure whether to applaud, pretend it hadn't happened, or leave. Savannah's aunt fanned herself dramatically. Two of the bridesmaids whispered furiously to each other. The videographer silently adjusted his boom mic, pretending not to eavesdrop. At the sweetheart table, Savannah stood frozen. Her champagne glass trembled slightly in her hand. Noah leaned toward her. "Hey," he whispered. "She's obviously losing it. Don't let this ruin our night." Savannah didn't respond. Instead, she looked down at his lapel pocket. Something was poking out. A crisp fold of paper. A note. Savannah slowly reached out and pulled it free. Noah's face shifted instantly. "Sav, don't." She stared at him. "What is this?" He opened his mouth. Closed it. "Nothing important," he said quickly. "Just a wedding day thing. Camille being Camille." But Savannah didn't blink. She opened the note and began to read. The handwriting was Camille's. Sharp, elegant, meticulous, like always. But the message? It wasn't elegant. It was a grenade. "If you go through with this, I'll tell her everything. The party in Miami. The night at my apartment. You swore it meant nothing. Maybe it did to you. But it ruined everything for me. And she deserves to know. See." Savannah's pulse dropped to her knees. Her mouth went dry. She looked up at Noah. "Miami." He swallowed hard. "It wasn't what it sounds like." Savannah's voice cracked. "You were at her apartment? When?" "It was months ago," he said, voice low. "Before we got serious. We were living together by then." He reached for her hand. "It didn't mean anything. Camille, she's been obsessed. She's trying to ruin this because I rejected her." Savannah pulled away. You slept with my maid of honor. It was a mistake. Savannah laughed, not from humor, but disbelief. A mistake you kept secret for how long? He said nothing. And that was answer enough. Savannah folded the note and tucked it into her bouquet. Then she stood up. I'm going to find her. Oh. Camille wasn't in the bridal suite. Or the back hallway. Or near the gardens. Savannah eventually found her outside, sitting at the edge of the fountain where they'd taken pictures just an hour ago. Her heels were off, her mascara slightly smudged, but her posture was still proud. Savannah approached in silence. Camille didn't turn around. You read it, she said. Savannah nodded. I did. Still facing forward, Camille asked, did he lie? Savannah sat down beside her. Yeah. A pause. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Savannah asked quietly. I tried. The call. The envelope. The speech. Camille nodded. I thought maybe if I gave him a chance to come clean, he would. But he didn't. He never was going to. Savannah's voice cracked. So you decided to blow up my wedding instead. Camille turned toward her. I didn't blow it up. He did. I just stopped pretending. Savannah couldn't breathe. The betrayal was multi-layered. Noah, the man she'd planned to build her life with. And Camille, the friend she called her sister. So it was just sex, she asked bitterly. A couple of drunk nights and then you both moved on. Camille shook her head slowly. It was more than that. At least, for me. Savannah looked at her sharply. You were in love with him. Camille didn't answer. But her silence screamed the truth. Savannah stood up. The hem of her dress dragged in the grass. So all this, the speech, the envelope, the MIC, it wasn't about saving me. It was about hurting me. Camille's eyes filled. No. It wasn't meant to hurt you. It was meant to stop you from living a lie. You should have told me months ago, Savannah said, her voice rising. You let me design a dress, plan a honeymoon, write vows for a man who'd already cheated on me, with you. I didn't plan for any of this to happen. You didn't stop it either. Tears finally spilled from Camille's eyes. I was scared, she whispered. Of what? That if I told you, I'd lose you forever. Savannah looked at her. You lost me anyway. Oh. Back inside the reception hall, whispers were already circulating. Some guests had started leaving. Others hovered in awkward silence. The cake remained untouched. Noah stood alone at the bar, sipping bourbon and pretending everything wasn't falling apart. Savannah returned, bouquet in hand, and walked directly toward him. He straightened. Did she fill your head with more lies? Savannah said nothing. She pulled the MIC off the DJ stand. Can I have everyone's attention, please? Conversation stopped. Heads turned. Savannah stepped into the center of the dance floor. I want to thank you all for being here today. I know you came to celebrate love. And I wish that's what I could give you. She turned to Noah. But what I got instead was a warning. Noah muttered under his breath. Savannah, don't. But she kept going. I found out, not even an hour ago, that the man I was about to marry had slept with my maid of honor. My best friend. More than once. Lied to me for over a year. Smiled in my face, kissed my forehead, and called it love. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Someone in the back muttered, Jesus. Savannah continued. And if you're thinking, why didn't she see it? Trust me. I'm asking myself the same thing. She looked around the room, then back at Noah. But I won't make excuses. I won't wear white and pretend everything's fine. I won't dance in this dress for a man who never respected it. Then she turned toward Camille, who had re-entered and now stood near the doorway, frozen. And I won't pretend friendship survives betrayal. Another beat. I'm not finishing this wedding. But I will finish this chapter. She handed the MIC back to the DJ and walked out the front doors, to applause. The day after the wedding that wasn't tea, Savannah stood in her apartment barefoot, still in the white silk pajama set embroidered with Mrs. Jensen. Now, it just felt like a cruel joke. On the table beside her was the torn seating chart, her dried bouquet, and Noah's abandoned cufflinks. She sipped her cold coffee and stared at her phone. 3.2 million views. The video of her walking out after the mic drop confession had gone massively viral overnight. Someone had posted the clip on TikTok with the caption, "Bride goes full savage fire, cancels wedding live after exposing groom and maid of honor loudly crying face #wedding fail #cheaters caught." It had 400k likes, and comments were flooding in. "She's my Roman Empire. This is how you own your narrative. Camille and Noah need to vanish. Permanently." Savannah stared at the screen, exhausted, heartbroken, and oddly empowered. Isla knocked on her door with 2 lattes and a laptop. "You need to see this," she said. On the screen was Camille. A YouTube confession video. Camille sat in a plain hoodie, no makeup, eyes red. "I didn't come here to make excuses," she said. "I just wanted to tell the truth. And I need people to hear it from me." Savannah watched for 3 minutes before slamming the laptop shut. "You know what?" she said. "If they get to talk, so do I." 2 weeks later, Savannah uploaded her own video. A 16-minute monologue. No dramatic background. Just her, a cup of tea, and her voice. "Hi. I'm Savannah. Yes, the one from the wedding clip. And yeah, it was real. The wedding was called off. My fiancé cheated on me with my maid of honor. And no, I'm not over it, but I'm healing out loud." The video was calm. Measured. Poised. She didn't scream or cry. She let the facts speak. But at minute 9, came the twist. Savannah revealed something no one knew. The night before the wedding, Noah asked to write his vows in private. He locked himself in our hotel suite for an hour. When he came out, he looked shaken. I thought it was nerves. Now I know he was on the phone. With Camille. And do you want to know how I know that? Because my cousin Isla, bless her nosy little heart, had the room next door. And she recorded it. Cue the voicemail. Camille, on speaker, in the recording she'll find out eventually. Either you tell her, or I will. Noah, I won't tell her. I'm not giving up this life because of one stupid mistake. Camille, it wasn't one night, Noah. Stop acting like I imagined the rest. The internet exploded overnight. Savannah's video hit 7 million views. She gained 550k followers in 3 days. People began stitching her video with commentary, analysis, support, even memes. TikTok edits of Savannah's mic drop moment played over Billie Eilish, Taylor Swift, Beyoncé. People recreated her speech with movie-level drama. Influencers dubbed her the real queen of cancel culture, not for canceling people, but for canceling the fairy tale lie. Her DMs were full of, "You inspired me to leave my toxic relationship. Watching your story helped me confront my ex-best friend. Start a podcast, please." So she did. It was called The Uninvited. Her first episode? The day I didn't get married. She opened with, "I planned a wedding, got a white dress, booked a string quartet, and then I burned it all to the ground. Not because I wanted drama, but because I wanted peace." Oh. Noah tried to clap back. He posted a low-effort TikTok defending himself. "You're acting like one mistake makes me a villain. I made one wrong move, and now I'm public enemy number 1. He got roasted instantly. It wasn't one move, it was 2, and both with her best friend. Face with tears of joy. This isn't 7th grade. Own your mess. If you're gonna cheat, at least have a clean haircut. Camille went quiet after that. Deleted Instagram. Turned off comments. Last seen somewhere in New Jersey taking time off. Meanwhile, Savannah? She went on podcasts. She did interviews. She posted videos about healing, red flags, friendship breakups, and the myth of the perfect life. One of her TikToks hit 22 million views, a slideshow of her bridal photos with the caption, "Glad I got dressed for the funeral of my old self." 6 months later, Savannah walked through the doors of a podcasting studio in downtown LA. A new sponsor deal, a new production team, a new life. She wore black jeans, a blazer, and boots. Confident. Collected. She no longer checked Noah's social media. She no longer waited for Camille to apologize. She didn't wear her engagement ring anymore, but she did keep it. Melted it down into a custom necklace that spelled one word, enough. Isla became her producer. Her podcast had crossed 2 million monthly listeners. When asked if she'd ever trust again, Savannah answered, "I trust me. And that's enough for now." The last shot of her first vlog series showed her throwing her original wedding dress, the one she never wore, into the ocean at sunset. The caption read, "Sometimes the best I do is saying I don't ring no interesting waterwave #uninvited series."